Uh, how y'all doing this evening? Um, Please let me know in the comments. Okay, let me just get my. I don't have my thingy thing. Man, I hate wearing glasses. Lame ass, lame ass shit. Ah, that's better. All right, y'all. Please let me know in the comments if you have any issues with hearing or anything else. uh, really helps me out because sometimes I'll be sitting here jawboning and I don't know what's going on out in the world. I know how things look to me on my side, but I don't know how they look on your side with these lives. Unpredictable. We live, all the way live. So I really do depend on y'all to keep me abreast of how I'm being received. Technically received. As far as how I'm being received ideologically, I already know. Y'all ain't got to tell me that. Oh, excuse me. All right. So, welcome to the Rational Radical Show. Spoke to Skip earlier. He said he will be on deck a little later. So, it's all gravy. He has given us permission to proceed and continue in his absence. But, as Skip, y'all know he's a man of faith. So, even though he's not here physically, he's here with us in spirit, or his frequency is resonating with our vibration or whatever. So tell yourself that until he gets here. Anyway, I'm very happy to be here. I apologize for Monday. Let me tell you what happened Monday. What had happened was I try to do so much. I give so much. I am such a giving man. I am such a humble man that nearly no human being will ever match my humility, let alone surpass my humility. Now, I try to do too much. And I had to, and my broadcast, the whole setup is different. And I ran out. I was in the streets. Now, I got to stop saying I was in the streets because that has a particular connotation. I was in the community. I was on the sidewalk. I was on the path, and I just couldn't make it. I tried to do too much. I added too much in the day. I scheduled too many things, and so I didn't get back on time. And by the time I got here to my little setup, my little corner, my little Afrocentric broadcast corner, time had just escaped me. So I apologize for that. But it's the holidays, so the whole lie days. And so we all ain't none of us that together at this time of year, the hyper consumerism time of year, Kwanzaa time. Anyway, so I'm sorry about Monday. There was no big issues. I had some really interesting things I want to talk about, and maybe next time we'll talk about it. But everything is time. But I regret not being here. I regret not saying anything, but I do appreciate y'all because I have to acknowledge I spoke up about me being disillusioned because of my technical issues and some partnerships dissolving and just wrapping this whole Bro Diallo media empire up. But I see the support. I see people commenting, liking, subscribing. I'm getting contributions in. I'm able to plug in some holes, make up some deficits. So even though I'm still behind, I'm behind with the y'all behind with me. Y'all suffer with me and y'all rise up with me. And that's my motto. If I can't be down with you, if I can't be up with you, I'm not gonna be down with you. So even though the Bro Diallo experiment, I say some hipster shit, the Bro Diallo experience, the Bro Diallo experiment is still here. I'm very motivated. I see that the community wants me here. Enough of y'all want me here. Enough of y'all appreciate my efforts, my Pan-Africanist perspective, analysis, and point of view. So I'm very happy. I really thought I'd be wrapping this up, the Bro Diallo broadcast, wrapping it up in 2023. But now I'm excited about 2024. So, and my wife always said that, just let the people know what you're going through. But me being as alpha as I am, me being alpha as I am, I don't like to, let people, I want to project strength. I've already been excluded from the manosphere. So, now I just stand alone. So I don't want, and I've been called I've been called gynocentric, which, you know, when I got called, we're going to get to the topic. I've been called gynocentric because of my positions. Now, I pride myself on having reasoned, analytical, critical, validated, vindicated, evidence-based conclusions and points of view. I have opinions. I even like for my opinions to be founded or grounded in something substantial, you know. And so when I have this ongoing debate about the sisters and the brothers and the haters and the lovers, when I articulate my positions, people be saying I fall on the side of women. Now, that would be cool if I didn't from time to time show up on in spaces or online, and I also get called ashy and hotep, and then I get called gynocentric. And I'm like, what cisgendered heterosexual man isn't gynocentric? That used to be something, you know, that a man would brag about. Like, yeah, I'm all about the ladies. But nope, apparently in 2023, if you're all about the ladies, you're a punk, you're a scrub, and they even suggest that you might be feminine. I don't know. But then a guy told me that I live in a gynocracy. No, he said that we all live in a gynocracy, and I refuse to acknowledge the gynocracy. And because I refuse to acknowledge the gynocracy, and because I'm gynocentric, I'm part of the problem of society that's destroying society. And I'm like, well, goddamn. Here I am thinking I'm, you know, taking the position of the winners, of the worthy, of the liberators. And here I am just going from global white hegemony and capitalism to gynocracy and gynocentrism. So I promised the brothers in the manosphere, I'm working my way back. What's that song? Working my way back to you. I'm working my way back to the gynocentrics, to the, I don't know what is it, a patriarchy? I don't know. But it's just funny, man, how these dudes come at me, you know. But it's easier to deal with, though. It's easier to deal with because the manosphere is a fun place. Is a really interesting place. But I also want to speak about this because I see a trend. And this trend could be a legitimate trend or just something that is not actually a trend, but just being highlighted in the media. I saw today that the Rolling Stones song of the year was Ski Yee by Sexy Red. Ski Yee! Ski Yee! I've never heard the song all the way through. I've seen some TikToks and some memes of people with the Ski Yee and stuff, and some daughter whose mother was part of some sorority that was in opposition to the Ski Yee sorority, and her daughter was saying Ski Yee, and she threw the daughter outside or something. I've never heard the song all the way through. And in fact, there's only one Sexy Red song that I've ever listened to in its entirety, and that's old school Sexy Red. You know, walking down the street with your man, all his friends think I'm cute, but I gotta watch my back. I'm not safe around this dude. That shit, I've watched that shit. My wife and I would watch that shit and crack up. I loved it, that song. And then this other dude, Skin Bone, did a version, Black Black. And so I liked it, those two songs. But then when she blew up, I said, hey, that's that girl. And those the only song I know from her, but that Ski Yee song was voted by white folks, legitimate white folks, was like, Ski Yee is the song of 2023. And prior to this, there was talk about, I've been seeing in the manosphere, even though I'm not allowed in the manosphere, I look over the fence, I peek over the fence to see what my brothers are doing, because I want to ground, you know, I want to commune with my brothers. You know, I want to get invited back to the barbershop. They were talking about Sukiyana and Sexy Red being either engines that are driving the black race to doom or evidence of the fact that the black race is doomed. And I've seen articles written by serious cats. I've seen memes, and they go get these pictures of these black women in these high-collared Victorian dresses you know, or some woman, some Arabized African women in hijabs and rocking 3/4, and then they put them next to a Sukiyana or Sexy Red or some scantily clad woman and be like, this is what we've come to. This is what feminism has done. This is what the Jews have done. And, you know, whoever the reactionary scapegoat or the reactionary villain. This is what happened with no father in the home. All Sexy Red. And I try to go to the brothers and I'd be like, man, listen, y'all done made all these murder rappers multimillionaires and international celebrities since the 80s. Since the 80s. At the height in the 90s, early 90s, y'all think shit was bad. In the early 90s, when I was in high school and college, the homicides, the shootings were sometimes double or triple, depending on where in the country you was. You know, I was around when the Crips and Bloods were isolated to the West Coast. Los Angeles, Compton, Vallejo, and I saw that when the gangs with that movie Colors, go watch Colors. That is an instructional video. When that movie Colors, which is one of the best hip hop soundtracks ever. You know, Mad World by 783, go listen to that. Hey, my number one fan is back. I haven't seen you. Okay, my number one fan is back. Now I can speak with confidence. I got one person that's gonna rock and ride with me, irregardless of what I say. Now, I'm just like, I was there when these people who y'all literally are looking at as saviors, as leaders, as elders, as moguls, were saying shit that Sexy Red couldn't even. You know, people think explicit sex versus homicidal violence and drug distribution. And even to this day, they talking about Sexy Red is the downfall of all black folks. At the same time, Rick Ross, but not Free Ray Ricky Ross, literally toured the country. And his only accomplishment is being a CIA agent helping to distribute genocidal biochemical warfare against the black community. So anyway, I'm just like, it seems a bit hypocritical. I wish we had that energy in 87, 88, maybe even 85. But anyway, that whole thing with Sexy Red and Sukiyana being the downfall or being weapons against us. Now, I personally, in no way, and maybe because I don't know no better, I don't feel threatened by gratuitous sex, explicit sex, you know, casual sex. I'm not threatened by it. Maybe because I've been married all these years, I just don't know no better. I don't know what it's like out in these single streets, but I was once a young man. I was once in college. I was once a high schooler. And even though a lot of right-wing reactionaries will talk about the moral decay of a society, most societies that collapse, most societies that have descended into decay, economic, political, social erosion, you know, getting it in, explicit sex, I haven't been able to connect it to any of that. And I asked for a specific example, specific historical precedents. Now I can talk to people about wealth concentrating at the top, far right-wing ideology and delusions, theocracy and theology. There are several things that societies or civilizations or even empires that I can point to that collapse, and we can look at the linchpins. Usually it's a convergence of several things. And, you know, hyper exploitation of the environment. And not once have I found that, you know, people cocking it up, cock your leg up, cock your leg up. I just haven't seen it. So, and don't get me wrong, I'm not a Sexy Red or Sukiyana fan. I believe that they would qualify as minstrels. Y'all know how I talk about these artists and ball chasers and prominent black leading Negroes. They promote hyper consumerism, capitalism, individualism, and promoting, you know, wearing diamonds and big wads of money. Shit I ain't with as a socialist. But if I had to run down a laundry list of the top problematic things about Sexy Red, the fact that she talks about sex and gratuitous sex wouldn't make the list of the top 10. Maybe if I was able to list the top 25 things. But I understand. But then I see this counterbalance. And I know, just stay with me here. Stay with me here. Stay with me here. Y'all know Black China, right? Y'all remember Black China? She was a stripper. She had a sex tape. I hear people mention in the ether, in the world. I've heard someone mention something about sex tape. She got saved. She has awakened. And she went in and got her plastic surgery toned down. And they talk about plastic surgery reversal, but she just got some alternate procedures to address previous procedures. So it's not really, you can't really reverse sex, but I heard she got like her cheek fillers reduced and her BBL reduced, and she starts to dress modestly, and she starts to advocate for women's chastity. And there's another woman that I follow. I think she's a public figure. I kind of afraid to say her name, but she used to be a bodybuilder, and she was very public bodybuilder and very athletic. And then she went from being a bodybuilder, like, I mean, just rippling muscles, and she became like a natural guru, natural juices, natural healing, self-care, self-healing, herbs and spirituality and crystals. She became one of those gurus. And now she is a born-again Christian. And she went from, like, you know, 2-piece string bikini thongs with an 8-pack and rippling biceps to ethereal earth mother goddess to a Christian. And she's denouncing all of her previous manifestations. And I see now, because in the popular media, that Christianity and conservatism amongst certain segments is looked at as counterculture. So you have this where it is said, I can't remember the social scientist that said this, that the United States is a pendular society. It goes from one extreme to the next without ever achieving balance, right? So the United States will be like a super chaste society, a super restrictive society, where it has these things called great awakenings, and everybody's super chaste. And we have these religious leaders who go across the nations having these tent revivals and all this holy Christian fervor and all these wholesome movies. The Passion of the Christ will be the top selling movies, right? And then it'll descend into decadence. You know, everywhere you go, Buddha, Buddha, Buddha everywhere, titties and booties and flapping all over the place. And so they say United States is a pendular society. It goes from one extreme to the next without ever achieving any rational or reasonable balance. So that at times when a woman will whip off her bra and burn it, that will be seen as counterculture. She's bucking the system. And now women covering themselves up and wearing headdress and being traditional trad wives, being a traditional woman to stay home and raise my children and having traditional values and being wholesome and meek. Now that's considered counterculture. So now, you know, you go from women who you are loose women being the scorn of society to loose women being on the red carpet and celebrated by the corporate media. And then you go from chaste women being upheld as the pillar of society to chaste women being scorned and mocked as from old fashioned, from a bygone era, right? And it's all a hustle. And both of these two tropes have essentially the same outcome, and they're orchestrated by the same people. And then when you're at that time where one, and it's this constant thing, and one thing you'll notice that in both of those iterations, especially for women, but we men have our own, which I've addressed in the past. Go look up my several discussions on masculinity and the black man's identity and black man's roles. And I have a presentation where I say the protector paradox, and this concept of a man as a protector, and at the same time men are the primary threat to women, and men are also supposed to be obligated to protect women when we're the main threat. So go look at that. So it ain't reserved just for the women. I've had this discussion about the brothers too. But when you see these two things in struggle, and they go from one to the next. So you'll have, Erykah Badu and Queen Latifah, UNITY, and then we got Sukiyana, and everybody can handpick at any era. You can handpick from any era which side you want to be on. And depending on what the dominant society and dominant culture says, you're either the one up, you're the standard, you are the prototype, or you're the underdog. But as I was saying, in all those iterations, the actual oppressor, the actual exploiter, the actual fucking problem is never identified, never acknowledged, never articulated. And you have people that'll come up like Kanye and say, well, it's the Jews, or you have people that come up and say it's the media, the Illuminati, it's women in general, it's the feminist movement. Everybody names everything except what the core problem is. But here's the trick. And what I've come to see this as is the center to saved pipeline. And what the reality of this is it's all marketing, right? So you get some girls that identify with ski, right? And the ski women will have a whole plethora of products and services marketed to them. So you can go and construct this identity, and you will have, and it all comes down to manipulation and exploitation. And then let's say you want to go from ski to blessed and highly favored. Then there's a whole nother industry that is even bigger. Christian music, Christian literature, Christian media, Christian identity makes more money than the ski. It has, and you can get into the center pipeline or the saved pipeline, and the same capitalists, the same white hegemons masterfully control, and it all comes back to the same corporations. When you go to your hotel room and you turn on televangelism and you have some man God on there, it's the same corporation that controls the pornography. Same one. Fox News. Look at the Fox media empire. You have everything from right-wing fascism to girl boss. So it's just such a hustle, and it amazes me that people that go down any of these pipelines really believe that they're individually responsible. And then people can clearly criticize and critique and denounce one side and have no self-awareness or no consciousness of the side they're on. So you'll see some brothers on the side or sisters on the side of the saved, and they'll look at the sinners and be like, this is blah, blah, blah. Or you have people on the side of the sinners and look at them and the patriarchal, sexist, conservative, suppressive, repressive. It is just amazing to me because I'm not with either of them, and I just try to be rational. And what's funny is I get called both things by both sides, and I'm by no means neutral. I'm not neutral. I'm on the side of liberation. And neither one of these, whether it is the sinner or the saved, neither one of them are for liberation. Both of them fit well. Both of them fit well in the narrative. And a lot of sisters will go to the saved side, and they got just as many stories of exploitation, whether it is through a cult or some guru or some life-changing event. I was told if I would wear a skirt down to my ankles and wrap my head up, these certain remedies would be available to me, certain solutions would present themselves, certain outcomes would come that never come. So China Fox has gone from sinner to saved. And I know y'all know some of them. Y'all can name them better than me. Some gospel singer that shows some thigh meat. Some gospel singer that put it on the glass And then the holy people start being like, she used to sing for the Lord, and now she done went worldly. And it's all the same hustle. It has all the same characteristics, especially for women, because the concepts, like the things like worthiness, women being worthy. What do you have to do? I'm a woman that you know, that is sexually expressive. I'm not repressed. I'm not going to bow to the standards put on my ancestors, or standards of chastity and purity, which is false and patriarchal. I'm not going to bow to that, and I'm worthy. Or a woman that says, I am meek, I am humble, I am a helpmeet, I am worthy. So concepts of worthiness, meaning that you have to earn your worthiness from illegitimate hierarchies. It's an illegitimate hierarchy, whether it is the multimedia industry or whether it is the religious media industry. It's an unworthy, unjust hierarchy. And within that hierarchy, you're trying to become worthy, or your worthiness, concepts of emptiness, you know, selling out, being short-sighted, and all that. But selling out, you know, the only thing worse than selling out is buying into. So people who look at the sellouts and they condemn the sellouts, but they never talk about the buying into, these concepts of wickedness and righteousness, concepts of purity and redemption. These are all captured, which I do believe. Now, I don't like purity. Purity is really probably one of the most dangerous concepts human beings have come up with. Purity in the context of religion or ideology. Purity is deadly. You know, when we were kids and we talked about the Puritans coming to America, the Puritans were so violent, so vile, that the average Europeans was like, y'all gotta go, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, they were too white for white people. You talk about black men, the white people are white. Puritans were the white people of white people during the height of European expansion. Purity is not about being good. Purity is about purging, burning, cutting off. Not cutting off means I don't talk to you anymore. It's about cutting off, severing. So both of these sides are just wild to me. Ultimately, the sisters who aren't revolutionary, who don't engage in critical thought and critical analysis, the sisters who do not have a radical agenda and a radical critique, they get caught up in these two, because it's like the grocery store. You know, these schools, and I know there are some in between. You go to a store and you look at all this variety, but it's one company that owns all that shit. I just found out, you know, my wife comes to me and complain, you know, her vegan products. Every time she's had, you know, she's been a vegan for over 20 years, and she has certain products that she loves. Alvarado bread and Bragg's apple cider vinegar. And really, for the last 20 years, she come to me and be like, this vegan product that I like, it was bought out by the Nabisco Corporation or the Kellogg, and they just keep buying out her shit. And it's all owned by the same companies, right? She used to like Amy's products. And it's the same thing with this ideology or this identity. This identity. So I'm a pure woman. I am a traditional woman, or I'm a modern woman. As Kanye said, the white man gets paid off of all of that. So I would say, weep not. Do not dismay that Ski Yi is the song of the year. And don't get caught up in those discussions, because normally people on both sides of those discussions are ass backwards, real talk. So, you know, congratulations to Sexy Red, Minstrel of the Year, white folks, seal of approval, mainstream seal of approval. And I'll tell you, within our lifetime, Sexy Red will have a redemption. That's why I like, what's his name? Woo! What's the brother's name? Tutti Frutti, good booty. Tutti Frutti. Little Richard. He would jump back and forth shamelessly. He'd be like, I'm a godly man. And then he'd be like, I'm a gaudy man. So he played the game well. He just played, both sides of that fucking fence. He's probably the one that did the most from being saved to sinner, sinner to saved. And I think he really shows the whole redemption. And the only real distinction especially for African people, is revolutionary and non-revolutionary. And in the non-revolutionary camp, it doesn't matter if you ski yee or blessed and highly favored, because you're feeding into the same monster, which we'll get into a little bit more later. I can't talk about these salacious issues when Skip is here, because he's a man of good tidings. Anyway, before we get into this, before we get into the discussion of coexistence and conquest, y'all see Jonathan Majors lost his case? Now I'm invested in this because I am a fan. My favorite, it's complex. This is probably the most important things I discuss. I am a Marvel guy. I support Marvel. Most of the comics I read, most of the titles I follow are Marvel. But there's a special place in my heart for some DC titles and characters. My favorite DC is Justice League, especially that late 90s, early 2000s run of Justice League. I also enjoy some of the Elseworlds and alternate universe titles from both sides, right? And so I've been following the movies, and I've learned. It took me years. To learn, but I've learned to respect, out of love for my wife. I've learned to stop pointing out when the movies or the cartoons or the television shows based on Marvel or DC characters or storylines diverge from the comic book canon. I've learned to stop it. And don't ask my wife if I stopped it. I said I stopped it. That should be good enough for you. But I don't think I do that no more. But anyway, Kang the Conqueror has been an interesting character to me. And I think it was some high Illuminati reptilian manipulation that they cast a black character as Kang. A black character as Kang the Conqueror. White folks, man, they never do nothing by accident. But anyway, I was following the Kang the Conqueror line, and multi-dimension and time travel. I just love what they do with alternate characters, and I can't talk about Warhammer. I can't go into Warhammer. I'm interested in seeing what Superman, the Witcher Superman, is going to do with the Warhammer. I'm really looking forward to Space Marine 2. I played through the first Space Marine third-person shooter. I don't like turn-based games, and I don't like first-person games. So when they came out with Rogue Trader, and I don't play first-person. And for the first time in decades, I got me a gaming computer. So I'm going back to replay the best Warhammer game, Dawn of War, and all the expansions, Winter Assault, all of them, Sisters of Battle, Necrons, and then I could download the mods and I could play Tyranids, the adultist mechanic. But I'm not talking about that, man. We're not talking about that nerd shit. We G's over here. Anyway, all I'm saying is I was looking forward to Jonathan Majors, multi-dimensional and time-traveling shit. Some of my favorite shit, alternate versions of established hero. I don't play Fallout. I just said I don't play first-person perspective games. I don't like first-person perspective. I play third-person shooters. For shooters, I don't play no art for role-playing games, and for shooters and looters, you got to come with Gears of War, Outriders. I tried playing Remnant. That shit's hard. My son said he will play, so I'm trying to get my son. He don't like gaming with me anymore. I was their number. Neither one of my sons. Let me tell you something. Sons will let you down, boy. But anyway, let me get back to Jonathan Majors, because this ain't even about the comics. I was just interested, and so they dropped him. And here's my issue. I said, and I say it loud. I said it before, and I'm going to say it one more again. I cannot support the Believe Women call for Believe Women of the Me Too movement. I support Believe Black women. White women have an unbroken, established track record of lying and using their status of being higher in the hierarchy than Black men to harm Black men, Black women, and Black families. There are too many mutilated, burned, and murdered Africans in our history that went hung from a rope, burned alive, lethal injection, uh, lethal injection, electric chair, indeterminate life without parole sentences based on white women's lies. So I say, believe Black women. I can go with that. I will share that hashtag. And if you have a problem with saying white women are not worthy, have not earned that from Black folks, if it's white folks amongst white folks, I don't get in their business. My great grandma told me, stay out of white folks' business and tend to your own. Now, I only deal with white folks when their business bleeds over into our business, but shit is crazy to me. But I have to say, I'm not against interracial relationships, but I am against denying the reality of racial hierarchy, the history of discrimination, and the contemporary realities, power dynamics, and resource divergence between Blacks and whites. If you are a Black person in an intimate, romantic, married relationship with a white person, you are operating at a deficit. It is not an equal or co-equal partnership, and no matter who is the quote-unquote breadwinner or dominant force or who is better known, I'm not saying you can enter unequal, imbalanced, hostile relationships. I'm not saying that you can't. That is your choice. I do not condemn. The last thing I would desire is for an African person who has the desire, drive, or love for a non-Black person to come over here and stay with us out of obligation. If you cannot be in an intimate partnership, marriage, love relationship with another Black person out of anything more than your personal internal drive, now I understand what you get off on or what you're attracted to. To me, ideology was a big part. I couldn't be me with no Christian woman, no swine-eating woman. Now, I'm not against them. I ain't trying to, but just for my preference. But I'm not going to condemn somebody for having their own desires, their own attractions. But it's not the same. It is not the same. And I was invited on this one talk show, one of them sassy talk shows, one of them fancy talk shows, and their discussion was, can you be pro-Black and in a relationship with a white person? And they scoured the internet looking for somebody to be on the side of yes, because everybody was like, hell no, you can't be pro-Black with a white woman. You can't be pro-Black with a white woman, a white man, and And somehow somebody, one of their producers, found me. Maybe I can find that link to that show. They wouldn't let me talk. They just needed a Black person to come on there and say, yes, I agree that you can be pro-Black and be in an intimate relationship with a white person. And that's all they let me say. So they were like, yeah, we're going to get both sides of this topic. And so the anti side, like, if you were a white person, if you were a white woman, you can't be pro-Black. And they talk. And they were like, now we got the other's perspective. So I came on there and they were like, we got Bro Diallo. And I said, yeah, you can. And they didn't let me talk. And I would say, maybe I can have that discussion, but I'm like, first thing you have to do is define what pro-Black is. Define the features and characteristics of pro-Blackness. you know. And another, it's just a logical thing. Can you be racist? Can a white person be racist and in an intimate relationship with a white person, with a non-white person? Can a white racist have an intimate relationship with a black person, marry or intermarry, and even have children? The answer is absolutely yes. We've seen it. We got too much evidence. And generally, when something is evidentially true, a lot of times, as a rule of thumb, not always, they tend to be the mirror of that can also be true. So you can be a racist man. Remember that Klansman? I don't remember his name in Kansas. He shot up a synagogue. His attraction. He had a thing for black transgender sex workers. That's where all his spare money went. He was KKK, Nazis, anti-Semitic, all the bad white things, everything, the worst white man in the world. But when it came to what he was attracted to, what he got off on, what he wanted to, share the most deepest connection and most intimate contact with, it was black. And I think that if it were allowed in his larger community to secure a home and live out a life with this person, he could go home to a black transgender lover and then go out into the world and commit the most heinous racist acts in the world. I don't think love is blind, but I've seen love be irrational and inconsistent. But one thing I always say is pro-blackness is the lowest bar of existence. To call a black to being pro-black is nothing to brag about. It is not an accomplishment. It is the default setting. It's a default setting. You don't have to level up. You don't have to get education. You don't even have to engage. It's pretty easy to be pro-black. Like Issa Rae could say, I'm rooting for everybody black. Pro-blackness is a pretty low bar. So once we really get a handle on, I'm not impressed by a pro-black person. To me, a black person coming up saying, yo, I'm pro-black, is like an adult coming up and saying, hey, I wipe my ass and wash my hands after I use the restroom. It is appropriate, it is necessary, but it's not really anything to celebrate. It's nothing you should expect accolades or celebration for. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yes, you can be that low bar. Now, if they asked other questions, if they asked more targeted questions, saying, can you be in an interracial relationship and be an advocate or a participant in Black liberation struggle? Can you be in an interracial relationship and take leadership role in a Black liberation organization or a Black revolutionary or Pan-African organization? We can start to discuss, and I believe that is valid discussion. Can you be in an interracial relationship and when racism rains down on you, what amount of sympathy or what amount of solidarity should the larger Black community hold with you? Those are legitimate questions that we can work out. But to me, for a person in an interracial relationship, it really, really depends on how you conducted yourself in that relationship, not just so that you were in that relationship. But that's that. So anyway, Jonathan Majors is a victim of racism. But some victimization, and I don't like this, but I'm going to say it. Some victimization we volunteer for. And I hate myself for saying it. I hate myself for saying it. And I'm never going to say it again except for right now. Some victimization we volunteer for. I am a victim of racism, discrimination, white hegemony, and oppression. Right? I am. But let me tell you something. I never volunteered for that shit. I never consciously, deliberately, directly, or freely expose myself because I know all African people are vulnerable. But I never, ever voluntarily or willfully expose myself to vulnerability. And when you do that, because I think Black people should be able to do that. If you are a Black person and you're into tractor pulls and you're into honky tonk and you're into wrestling and you go say, hey, that's because me myself, there's certain things. I'm used to the finer things. I had a friend, Cullen, from Guyana. And Cullen would say to me, oh, Skunt, oh, Diallo, you hate white people, but you love their shit. He said to me, oh, you hate white people, but you love their shit. Guilty as charged. Because I'd be like, hey, bro, I want to hang out with my homie Cullen. And Cullen's like, let's go to the Vanderveer and play dominoes. Let's go to Ebbets Field and get into a pickup basketball game. And I'm like, absolutely. But before we do that, I got to go to the co-op, the food co-op, and pick up some lemongrass. And then I want to go to Connecticut Muffin and get a vegan muffin and oat milk latte. And then after that, we'll head to 7th Avenue. You know, so he'd be like, man, you rant and rave, you in all these organizations. Every time I run into you, you giving me some flyers about, you know, this. Where'd Skip go? Skip was here and Skip is gone. But then every time we got to go somewhere to pick up something for you, hey, I'm used to the finer thing. Me, even when I was a little kid in the ghetto, my dad said to me in a few times he came around, I took him to the local candy shop. And in that candy shop, bulletproof glass. And you walk in there, it's called Mama Dell's, and you point behind the glass and say, give me the Reese's peanut butter cups, give me the Little Debbie's, give me the Hostess peanut pudding pie. Man, them Hostess pudding pies. And it was dipped in chocolate, man. Let me tell you something. If those were still around, I wouldn't be vegan. Real talk. Are they still around? Nah, they ain't like they. Boy, let me tell you something. Let me tell y'all something. I didn't fuck around. Let me tell y'all something. Is Rip the Crip here? Rip the Crip is somewhere walking on a volcano. See, Black people, you give Black people a little bit of money and they start doing white folks shit. This shit, when I was in the 5th, 6th, 7th grade, woo, let me tell you something. Anyway, I walk in there. I ain't going to drag y'all down memory lane with me. Let me know when you want to come in, Skip, anytime. But anyway, my dad was like, I will not I will not walk into a place that treats me like a criminal, that treats me like an animal. He's like, look at these. Why does the convenience store, the bodegas in your community got more security than a damn bank? He's like, that's dehumanizing. And from that moment, from when I lived in Kansas City, New York City, or Chicago, the places I've lived the longest, I walk in somewhere, a food or establishment, and they treating me like a criminal, I don't patronize it. So even way back then, I was leaving the Kansas City. I had to go past Prospect, go past Truth to buy a goddamn candy bar where I can walk in and be treated like a human being and be in a civil, sane environment. And what's crazy about that shit is the white folks was stealing like crazy. Rich white folks. My wife worked for like 2 years at this elite private school. You know, in one of the richest, Johnson County, Kansas, one of the schools on state line. She was a English teacher there. And those wealthy white housewives, desperate housewives, would steal. Man, that was their hobby. Like a white woman's hobby can be theft. And she never see the inside of a police cruiser, let alone a jail cell. But I digress. What are we talking about here? What? You texting me, Skip? Hold on. I don't know what Skip doing. Oh, Jesus. Bring you in? You couldn't come in yourself?
No. I've been trying to get in for at least like 5-7 minutes.
I thought you were so. I thought you were so enthralled by my discussion that you just didn't want to come in.
No, I definitely didn't want to get you off your square knowing that you out here eating a pudding pie. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I used to throw down, man. I think being a vegan, man, I think some of y'all swine eaters really be wasting.
How I get to be a swine eater, bro? I don't eat pork. I ain't ate pork since I was 15.
Okay. Well, it sounds better than saying a beef eater.
I don't eat beef. I stopped eating beef when I was 16.
Oh, great. Poultry eater?
Yeah, I definitely eat chicken.
Okay, poultry eater. You know who Howard Lyman is?
Mm-mm.
The Mad Cowboy.
Okay.
He was a multi-million-dollar cattle rancher.
Okay.
And he had a malignant cancer on his spine.
Mm.
And when he went in and got his diagnosis and they gave him a treatment plan, they were like, yeah, you might not ever walk again, even if you live. And he prayed to God and said, God, if I'm able to be wheeled out or walk out of this hospital, I'm going to preach the gospel of veganism, because he found out that his products that made him sick and develop malignancy in his body was doing that all over the world. So remember when Oprah got sued?
Yeah, the mad cow disease. Yeah, I remember that.
He was the guy that was the co-defendant in that suit.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, when Oprah was like, I'll never eat another burger again. That's Howard Lyman. But anyway, Howard Lyman said the worst foods you can eat, from worst to less worst, he said at the top of the heap is chicken.
Yep.
And then fish, and then he said beef and pork, and even beef is worse than pork, which is when I see people that try to go healthy, they always flip it and act like beef or pork is the worst and chicken is a better animal carcass alternative.
Right. Well, I stopped eating pork when I was 15 because I was going to join the Nation of Islam. I ain't really know what all of it was about, but I knew they were beefing with white folks, and I wanted to go to the Million Man March. So it was all performative. So I stopped eating beef. I stopped eating pork. And then I found out what a prostate exam was, so I stopped eating beef. I was like, I'm not ever doing that. So I just stopped eating beef. And I didn't eat I only ate fish for about 15 years. And I wanted some chicken wings. So
yeah. Well, I'm glad you came on here to save me from myself, though, because
you was wilding, bro.
I was going down the path talking about Jonathan Majors and the white woman.
Yeah, you was wild, bro. You a wild boy.
So let's just walk away from that unscathed.
Yeah, let's get back to what we supposed to be on. But
we want to talk about coexistence and conquest. Let's get to the topic.
Right on, man.
How your boy do in the game?
One goal, an intentional assist, which is very difficult, you know what I'm saying, for a 7-year-old. Played pretty well in space, was aggressive and engaged the whole match. They won a lot to very little.
Why you got a disappointed expression on your face?
I think the team was bad enough that he could have done a lot more, but they won't pass. Because they kid, like they little kids, like they playing one-on-one, so that intentional assist made my night. But no, I'm good, man. Like
you're disappointed. One of them fathers.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what it is, bro. And this is
even when he win, he in trouble.
No, man. Like, and I don't get to finish the night. Like, I don't get to do the shower. I don't get to, look at something on television or do the whatever. Like, I just miss all that part. So I literally just dropped them off, struggle getting on here, and now I'm on here. So, but yeah, I'm good, man.
All right, good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the topic, something that's safer arena. Coexistence versus conquest. And I'll just lay it out because Black people have been struggling for coexistence with people who are bent on conquest. And how the hell can you ever succeed? How can you ever succeed when these two goals, our goals, make us vulnerable to their goals? Our goals do not supersede, overcome, challenge, or even confront their goals. So even when we are given rights, we are given reparations or resources set aside, even when they give us concessions or cede territory to us, because these are two incompatible goals that will never align, why do we continue after 1,400 years and counting to seek coexistence with cultures, races, ideologies, and religions that are bent on conquest? And we find ourselves picking sides and aligning ourselves with two different conquerors, thinking that one of the conquerors will either give us freedom or allow us to share in the spoils of their conquest. And that's why I often say losing often looks exactly like victory, and victory looks exactly like losing. Or, as Del Jones said, we lose so much we don't even know what victory looks like. So that's just what I wanted to bring up and talk about this evening, because I see us heading down that same road of coming up with a new coexistence and taking sides in conflicts where, regardless of which side wins, we lose.
Yeah. You know, I think you summed it up perfectly. Like, one of the things that is confusing to me, and we can even use sport as an example, right? I live in a city that's 80% black. My son is the only African boy on his team. When I talk to other black parents about, hey man, like, we really could start our own thing. We could hire our own coaches. We could, like, we could own it. We could, we could really organize around it. Like, we could really galvanize, people and community behind it. Like, we could build all of this stuff behind it. And so many people are just like, nah, man, that's too much. And it's confusing for me as a person for some very obvious reasons. One, I look at everything as a teaching tool, right? Like, everything that we do is a testimony to what we believe. Everything, right? And it's confusing for me when people complain about things that they can do something about. I think we are so committed to loving our enemy because it takes us off the hook for being responsible for ourselves. Like, the idea of freedom and being able to complain about what your enemy does is one thing. But when you gonna take that shit into your own hands and now you gonna do something about it, like, you gonna, as we say here, you gonna stand on business, right? Like, when you say you gonna do that, well, you got to take everything that come with that. And so many people are uninterested in everything that come with it, because really and truly, we want to be like white folks, in the sense that we just wake up, go about our lives, and come home. Like, we don't really want that. We don't want that work of resistance. We don't want that work of independence. And I just want to be free.
Yeah, I think freedom has been warped because in the culture that oppresses us, freedom literally means being able to exploit your environment, being able to disregard the needs of others. Freedom is an extremely corrupted and toxic concept. That's why the right wing party gets to label itself the party of freedom, and freedom is being free of regulatory oversight that allows you to give people toxic products or services that do more harm than good. And whenever I engage in any type of advocacy, an organization or ideology, and I don't think we do this enough, the first thing I do is ask, what does ultimate victory look like? Like you said, you wanted to join the nation, or I become a card-carrying member of the Democratic Party, or I join the new Black Panther Party, and you say, well, what does ultimate victory look like? Or I start to adhere to the teachings of any, whether from John Henry Clark or W.B. Du Bois and these Black gurus, ADOS. I always ask myself, what does ultimate victory look like? And first thing you'll find out is they really have no scenario for ultimate victory. They only have extremely limited, and most of their solutions require or demand that the overall superstructure remains in place. Capitalist infrastructure and superstructure, the national borders, and the military and industrial relationships, and most of the hierarchies all must remain in place for their solutions to work. And then other groups, which is even worse than that, is their solutions are ultimate hellscape nightmare scenarios. I mean, and I don't think people really read the literature or really appreciate the ideology and beliefs of many of these individuals or organizations and what they advocate for. And I think if we really started to, because you can get with a group and a lot of times you're like, why are you with that group? Because they talk about upliftment, they talk about entrepreneurialism, they talk about self-respect, they're against police brutality, or they fighting against racism, or they calling out this industry or that industry. But when you look at the totality, you say, well, let's say this group wins. And Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin and Central America really got to the point where they were like, okay, we won. And we lived in a world of Black reactionary, Black conservative, Black theocratic domination or rule or self-governance. And we've had, even in this country, isolated pockets of Black reactionary or Black right-wing rule or self-governance or domination. And it always looks like a replica, duplicate, or a mockery of the dominant system. We don't know what victory would really look like, and we're even afraid to answer that question.
So
ask that question.
We talk about it a lot here, right? We can even look at, like tying Willie D's response to Jared, right?
That's my favorite ghetto boy. Tread lightly, Skip.
Hey, man.
Willie D is not a bigot, and I won't be. I just educate mine for reality.
Hey, man, listen.
Leave Willie alone. That's my favorite ghetto boy, man. I don't think he got it.
Listen, bro.
Willie.
We sit around and we just really, I'm serious, man. Like, typically people really just want to get up, go to work, and come home. That's it. Like, we have very little radical imagination. After you unpack that part, the responses, as we talked about this last show, like the responses get simpler and simpler as the problem gets more and more complex. And what we are advocating, what we are saying people should do, man, you should read, you should join organizations and talk about it. You should build intentional community and try some of this stuff out. Man, what they got to do with me going to work and coming home? Because ultimately, like, we talk about it a good bit. Like, I don't know if we don't believe we can win, or if we believe we can win, the outcomes ain't as good as what we got now because we want iPads.
Well, here's the thing, though. Wants aren't innate or natural. Needs are inborn. Needs are essential. They're evolutionary, they're biological, they can't be deviated from. And when you put a people in a position where their needs are not met or their needs are precarious at constant risk, you're in a position to manipulate their wants. We see historically when African people are in a position where either our needs are properly spoken to, or the other side of that, our needs are so greatly neglected that going along with any condition or system is tantamount to agreeing to die. When you're at one extreme or the other, that tends to provoke change, or people begin to start to question their wants. But when you turn a need into a privilege or a want, that puts people in a great degree of manipulation, and they even get confused. People start to think, I need money. I need this title. I need this citizenship, which are all artificial things, and they totally neglect or never give thought to the quality of the water, the quality of the air, the viability of the soil, the quality of their interpersonal and intimate relationships. So I agree when you talk about what people want, but I don't think, but we have to understand that wants are not natural things. These desires, these drives, these things that motivate us are intensely manipulated. And that unto itself has been weaponized. And if you go from one culture to the next, people are like, and I talk to people about that all the time, that really believe that their wants are, I made this choice independently, or I need this. And then people never critique it, because you have some dudes like, I like football, I want to go to the game, I want to get the jersey, I have all these wants related to football. And I'm like, well, where did that come? It's because what I like, it's what I want, it's what I like. But if you were born in Barbados, you'd be a cricket fan. You couldn't pay the average brother in the United States to watch a game of cricket. But I know brothers from the Caribbean that get as excited. And so it's not a natural thing. It's obviously part of the larger culture. So African wants that are detrimental to us or fail to advance us are not natural to us. Mm. And they are directly linked to oppression. Mm. So, and can I say something else about oppression, right? Mm-hmm. We know about the physical components of oppression, and those stand out most, but we never really talk about the deeply, some people really do, and some people value that. And that's why it's so weird that people who claim to not be interested, I don't read or admire public figures who try to speak on the Black condition, but proudly say they don't read, like Kanye West, or people that don't, I'm not down for this debate, I'm not down for this talk, like Willie D has a talk show titled No More Talk. It only takes a creative genius to create a talk show called No More Talk. I'm gonna create a walking club called No More Walk. But anyway, the psychological, where you had said before, I wrote a whole essay on the greatest thing African people ever lost was our imagination. That's our greatest loss, more so than the land, more so than our indigenous languages, our indigenous spirituality. The greatest thing we lost was our imagination. Oppression has really shrunk us. And you got people who created the very concept of markets and economy. Some of the oldest markets in the world, some of the oldest systems of trade, barter, and exchange, some of the oldest systems of agriculture, some of the oldest systems of architecture and structures are now have as their greatest ambition is basically operating within someone else's warped bastardization of things we pioneered or invented. So we shrunk psychologically, ideologically. Our scope and goals have been greatly shrunk, where we don't even dream big. People got mad at me because they were talking about, oh, you should call for a ceasefire. And I want a ceasefire, but it don't stop or end with that. I would say cease Zionism. Like if you're gonna call for something that's gonna be ignored, if you're gonna call for something that's gonna be completely ignored, if your wife will trap you, ask you a question where you already know the answer, what the answer should be. If honey, what do you want for your birthday? No, I just want the love of my family. I want the presence of my family. If you're gonna ask for something that's gonna be rejected, I want a stack of 1,000 singles and an all-day pass of King of Diamonds. That's what I want. Like, if you're going to ask for something it's going to be rejected, ask for the most audacious thing.
So we've talked about this on this same thing too, right? We have drifted so far to the right that staying on the right is now radical. Right? Like, so when you say, like, even the ceasefire piece, right?
Uh-huh.
The end of Zionism ain't even on the table. And when I say things relative to that situation, people look at me like I got 6 heads. Like, even think about it, bro. Like, just going back to just something as trivial as youth sport. If we can't start our own youth sports team, how we gonna run a city? How we gonna run a school? How you gonna run a program? I'm not asking you to do anything that you are not already committed to doing. How does that work? And when you say like our wants are foreign to us, why are we so ashamed to admit that we are being manipulated? Like, what's wrong with saying I got duped?
Ego, what you know.
I mean, bro, I hear that. I receive it. Yes. Right? But I was in the meeting with some elders yesterday. And in the first meeting that I had with them, I told them that they did a very poor job of preparing us for the world.
To elders?
I told them, like, y'all did a
But them wasn't elders, them was old folks.
Them was elders, man. They love me.
Being old don't make you an elder. What does Sister Soldier tell us?
Yes, I don't disagree. But I'm talking about in a room full of my elders.
Uh-huh.
You love me, you care for me, you fed me, Anything that I needed, you would have did, but you told me to go to college, get a degree, and that shit did not work. And the reason they told me that was because they were preparing me for the world that they entered. And what I'm trying to convince them now to understand is, hey, you don't know the world that these children are entering, and neither do I. We have to talk to them and figure out what are those base things that they need, and how do we ensure that we develop those things in them, and give them the tools to know that they can come back to figure out how to find these other pieces, right? That ties to what we're talking about, because I got sold a bill of goods. The people I love gave it to me. I ain't talking about what I bought from white folks. I'm talking about what I bought from people that love me, that fed me, that made sure I was safe. They sold me a bill of goods because that's really what they believed, and it didn't work. Why are we so ashamed to say, hey, I believe the thing, and now that I got more information, I don't believe that thing anymore? I used to think financial literacy was important. People I love told me that. So when we're talking about our community wanting to be in a position of white folks because we've abandoned our imagination. And the reason we've abandoned it is not because we put it down somewhere and forgot it, right? Like, that's not what happened at all. People came along and told us a bunch of things. We believed it. Now that we found out that it's not true, now we can stop digging. Like when people say, what's the first step to getting out the hole? It's stop digging. Like, why do we insist that stopping digging is quitting, and that's a bad thing?
You're lazy. You don't want the bag.
Like that ain't the way that works.
Yep. I'm with you. I love these discussions where we see eye to eye.
Hold on, and I won't say this because I just thought about this.
Uh-huh.
I'm also confused as to how, and I hope Danielle is here, because I've been thinking about something that she said, the last time we were on, and she was like, what does me joining an organization do for 46 million people? And I think that ties into this, because the same thing is true for the LLC. What does your LLC do for 46 million people? But
Inspire
because we have
them.
drifted so far to the right? Joining a club to talk about how we got over here is less effective than doing the thing that perpetuates the thing that got us in this spot.
Yeah.
So the only way we really acting like we gonna dig a hole to China. Like, the way we gonna get out of this hole is dig through the earth and pop up in China, because we gonna fall out. I just you was wrong because you didn't have as much information. Like, when you get more information, you supposed to think differently, ain't it?
Yeah. So, before we open up to discuss, you can't coexist with people bent on conquest, and that's why I say losing looks like victory, because a lot of times we struggle, whether it's anti-colonial or decolonization struggle, whether it's a struggle for equal education, representation, votes, struggle for reparations is contaminated and degraded at this point, when reparations used to be restoring the global African community to the status we were prior to. Well, now it's just like the Black liberation movement got turned into the Black integration movement. The Black reparations movement is nothing more than an economic integration reformist movement. But what is the proper response to conquest? Because our response to conquest is peaceful coexistence. And we've never demanded and we've never oriented ourselves to preventing or removing our enemies' capacity for conquest. We've never, we try to convince them, we've made legal, we've made moral and ethical, we've even made militant and armed demands that they end their conquest. And the response to that conquest has always been coexistence. Whether it is sitting next to them on the bus and drinking out of the same water fountain with them, or drinking out of the same, or eating at the same lunch counter with them in the United States, or the economic integration, being equitable trade partners, sitting on the same panels, being in the same international organizations, UN, worshiping in the same holy space to the same God. Our solution has been coexistence in response to some of the heinous, because Nazism was a thing. And the response to Nazism is not trying to find a place where Jews and Nazis could coexist, or the Allies and the Axis powers could coexist. The response was one or the other. And because your existence was an active threat to my existence, your existence was forfeit. And African people have been working so hard for a position in the world where we could get equal treatment in the existence system. And we've never, as a mass, as a group, said the existence system is illegitimate. It has forfeited its right to exist, and we have to wipe it out. And the system and those who participate, engage, support the systems have forfeited their right to be a system. And so even when we win with our greatest aspirations, decolonization, integration, presidencies, LLCs, black billionaires, every victory ends up, we're in the same status. The same status. And I predict in our lifetime, we're going to have a black pope. We're going to have a black pope. And black people going to dance in the streets for that. Probably harder than they dance for Obama.
Bro, listen, man.
As opposed to saying the Catholic Church is forfeit.
Bro, a buddy of mine was excited to see that girl that didn't want to be black marry that white boy in England.
Who are you talking about?
I don't know. Diana kids, the prince. I don't know, William.
Oh, yeah, that girl, that sister. Yeah, I know who you talking about,
bro. This man was talking. This when I was still on social media. He was talking so bold about it. Man, I just called him on the phone. I was like, "Hey, bro, what is you doing?" And he was like, "Hey, no, man, it's just jokes." I was like, "Bro, like, you embarrassing us." I was telling one of my elders yesterday, I said, if integration was dependent on my kids integrating, ain't no way it would have happened. I'm not finna put my child in white folks' mouths for nothing. Like, no, like that just don't happen. Like, you can go out here and play soccer, and if they get sideways, you won't be playing soccer no more. We'll go somewhere else. Like, but we're not gonna do that. Like, we're not gonna take no disrespect. And he 10. His little brother 8. Well, 7. Finna be 8. We ain't taking no disrespect. I don't understand how getting along is even on the table. The best we can do is be cordial. You gonna do these 5 things. I'm gonna do these 5 things. That's it. Like, we don't have no. We only exist at this point. Outside of that, like, it ain't no. And it's hard for me to understand it because, as you said, you get $1 billion and you can't say nothing.
Oh, they become more afraid. I've never been more, and I'm not even exaggerating. Despite how I come off, I'm an optimistic person about the fate of African people. When I look at the totality of our timeline, African people, the main threat to African people is the destruction of the ecosystem, because we are progressing along more rapidly than almost any other population of people that have come under colonization and enslavement. So our default status is a free, sovereign, independent people. That's the vast majority of our history. Mm-hmm. The time of the Ma'afa is a relatively minute period of our history, even though it's so prominent because we're still within it.
Yep.
So, but the bigger problem is the destruction of the ecosystem and the viability of the earth. That's the main thing. But
so you saying Charleston White is wrong?
Charleston White is locked up. Oh, and here's that. Here's the thing about a dude like Charleston White. This is what self-hate will do with you. Charleston White, you can live on a planet where white people have created 2 world wars, have conducted 2 world wars against each other, where they have nukes and ballistic missiles aimed at each other, where whistleblowers, every 3 to 5 years, whistleblower comes out and talks about all this deception they have, where white people have engaged in global scale murder orgies against other white people, where the white leaders, we forgot about mad cow disease. For short-term profits, white agricultural leaders were grounding up sick and diseased cows and selling it as cheap protein to cow farmers, and they were turning cows into cannibals. And they created these things called prions and exposed 85% of the European population to mad cow prions, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, for short-term profits. White people did this to other white people. Every single white developed nation has negative population growth. The top white European economies have negative population growth. Mass extinctions on a daily basis between 24 to 50 animal and plant species go extinct daily. There are microplastics in the bloodstreams and breast milk. And a black man can look at white folks are doing this. White folks are doing this to other white folks. You look at the research of Dr. Helen Caldicott, the most radioactive soil, the most radioactive nations on this earth, France, Germany, Western Europe is a radioactive wasteland right now. Greece, the home of white civilization. The home of white civilization. White people saw Greece, their motherland, go bankrupt and they sent their financial leaders down there to pick the financial corpse and allow Greece to go belly up, and all the white nations that got their civilizations pretend they got it from Greece can look at all this, and I could go on for the rest of the time we on the air about white on white crime and say black people are the ones that are going to cause our own destruction.
Bro.
So that's what self-hatred will do. And they'll look at that and just be like, that's normal, that's fine, that's civilization. They got the money, so they have all the money, because a lot of these people are like, if you got a shit ton of fiat currency, then nothing you do can be defined.
You must be doing something right. Yeah, exploiting you, sir.
You know, fuck Charleston White. Hashtag keep Charleston White. This man fantasized about getting other black people incarcerated. And as I had said, I predicted it. I am a secular prophet. I said that these type of self-hating, toxic Uncle Tom minstrels are disposable and interchangeable. They have very limited shelf space and very limited life expectancy in terms of their life within the system. So I hope he shares. They can put him in the cell they let Cosby out of. Because the same Negro, every Negro that basically he sat up there and said, white folks love me, and now they about to throw the book at his ass. You know, that's one thing. We like to talk about how black leaders get assassinated and fall off. We love to talk about that. You know, Malcolm X, Dr. King. We never talk about how black sellouts share the same fate. Except our leaders can die with dignities, but the Uncle Toms die in disgrace. How many infiltrators and sellouts and involuntary slaves pick cotton at night? They have just a shorter lifespan than many of our heroes, and they go unnamed. And their offsprings have to go on in disgrace. Can't even call them up. So fuck Charleston White.
Yeah, man.
And I hope he burned in hell. What did he say?
Yeah.
And let him burn in the bowels of the white man's prison. Abolish prisons, though, for real.
Yeah.
But for as long as they're a thing.
As long as they're around, he should be in one.
Yeah, hey, but beyond that, abolish prisons.
Yeah. But bro, like,
we are to re-education camp.
We are just sitting in these spaces acting as if reality ain't. And it is genuinely, I mean, it's like, it is baffling to look at. Like, you ever seen that cartoon? What was his name? Wilbur. Was it Wilbur?
The Cowardly Dog?
No. This was a lion. Man, look, bro. They be putting some game in these shows if your mind right. So I'm gonna connect it. So it's this lion. So they show the stork fly over this field, and he drop a bag, and all these little lambs run out and go to these sheep, right? One sheep don't get no lamb, but this silly lion roll out the bag, and the sheep take it in and nurse it. I think his name Wilbur. I got it on one of my hard drives. I sent it to you. It's like a 10-minute watch. I show it to these young boys when I do work with them, right? Mm-hmm. So basically, all these lambs grow up making fun of this lion because he's not a lamb. Eventually, a wolf come in. These lambs can't do nothing, of course, and the wolf is trying to eat the lion mama. And then the lion roar, and then now he's valuable to the sheep because he can protect them from the wolf. Bro, at what point do we recognize that we lions and these folks is sheep? And if the wolf eat them or not, we lions. And we should be with lions, not protecting sheep and not hunting wolves. Because we lions. Our value is not in our utility to protect whiteness. Our value is not in our ability to befriend whiteness. Like, listen, man, if they want to destroy each other, if they want to fight World War IX, man, let them folks have it. They ain't got shit to do with us. But when they start messing with the earth, whoa. We're gonna be here. Get your knuckles wrapped. Stay out the way. We don't have enough of an attitude about our value not being dependent on what they say our value is or the way that they're interacting with us. I just can't wrap my brain around it, you know.
Well, that's the most important thing, though. When you say you can't wrap your brain around it, it is ideology is the most important thing. Amos Wilson told us that the most valuable asset any people can have is a cohesive ideology. And I think that's the problem. I think, and one of the main problems is not even so, I don't think our problem is the unconscious people. I think amongst those who are conscious, those who are woke, who are aware, who are revolutionary, I think the problem dwells with us because we haven't done the unpleasant work of really not just consolidating and constructing a viable ideology, but then implementing it. You know, I think that is one of the biggest problems. I mean, I'm not tearing it down because I spent most of my life engaged in this, but activism, protest, and demonstrations. If you look at the roots of those words, act, demo, and protest and activism and demonstration. Demo, act, and test. Really think about that. What is a demo, an act, or a test? When you are an actor, when you give a demo or you take a test, you know, let's say your loved one is on the operating table and the healthcare professional that walks in there and they come in there with an instructor and say, okay, begin your test. That's not going to give you confidence. And most of our struggle has been locked into or born out of or rotates around activism, demonstration, and protest. Which are components of struggle, can be complements to revolution. But what we have to do and what we fail, so many of us fail to do, and many of us who claim to do it are pretending, is institution building and statecraft. And that is intellectual work. Whereas if I'm acting, if I'm demo, if I'm put to the test, that makes me look and appear to myself and those around me that I'm really cooking, that, you know, I got this gun, I got these fatigues, I got these flags, red, black, and green, I got these symbols of revolt. But even when they talk about the founding fathers, even George Washington, they'll paint him crossing the Delaware in this gallant act of crossing the Delaware. They'll paint their white heroes astride a stallion and with a sword holding up on the statue. But their real fucking damage, the Council of Nicene. Their real damage was done around tables. They're real damage. And people say it. Oh, I don't hear it as much as I used to, but people used to say all the time, the pen is mightier than the sword. But they say it, but I don't think it really resonates with them. So their documentation or deletion of documents. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I wouldn't even define as revolutionary, accurately stated 95% of Black history has been obliterated. Our libraries, our scrolls, our documents, our monuments have been obliterated. That where we all got to crowd around Egypt, one small territory and a huge continent. We don't even acknowledge the Egypt, the pyramids in Sudan and the pyramids in Ethiopia. We fighting with Arab colonizers for a fraction of our legacy. So I think that activism, demonstrations, and protest in as a complement, as a strategy, as a tactic is fine. But we often see those as paths to the solution. And if you're not doing that, we really have to start taking ourselves seriously. And that's another thing about racial esteem. Because a lot of even pro-Black revolutionary African-centered people really don't see Black people as having the ability to define reality or having the right to define reality. We only try to maneuver and navigate reality as defined by others, as by our oppressors and our enemies. We live in a reality constructed, and we say, well, this is a reality created by Jesus Christ. And we give ourselves comfort to say we're living according to God's law when that ain't nothing but Europeans or Allah. We really think dollars are manna from heaven, as if a dollar wasn't designed, printed, and manufactured by a person. As if the laws we live under and the very laws people impose on us, we see them violate on the daily. So anyway, all that to say, before we open up, I'll allow you to go before you let me know when you're ready to open it up.
No, I think we just gonna open it up, man. We got some people in the chat that's ready. You know what I'm saying?
Stop trying to. Come on. We have to stop being willing to coexist with conquerors. And our goal should not just be getting ours or getting what's coming to us, but removing the capacity. Remove, whether that's disarming or dissolving of nations or dissolving of shredding of whatever it takes. It's not just enough to coexist peacefully. We have to remove the capacity of colonizers, oppressors, of races to wage violence, to wage war, to come at us. So we need to stop trying to simply secure freedom without defining freedom. We don't need the proper response to conquest is counter-conquest. The proper response to conquest is destruction. If you threaten my life or my people, you have forfeited your own. If you threaten my people's institutions, you have forfeited your own institutions. Integration has greatly diminished us. And with that, I'll open it up if you're ready, Skip.
I'm ready, man.
Questions, comments, and criticisms. You can look in come in live on the stream. Have you started any comments?
No, so I'm not. We're going to have a follow-up about, I don't know what's going on, but it did not let me log in as a host. So
you're afraid to take power, brother. I made you you're an administrator. I made you an administrator, so you should have
listen. I know you did. When I went to click on the link, it didn't yeah, so we just gotta do a check-in to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I'll look in the back room. But anyway, I've shared the link so you can come on live. We can head over to the starred comments first. Thanks and appreciation and praises to Phyllis Foster.
Thank you, Phyllis Foster.
One question: can Dave Chappelle be redeemed?
That's a very quick answer. I don't think so.
I say yes.
Well, anybody can, but ultimately, like, I can't do nothing to make him change his mind. He got to learn something that causes him to be different.
Right. But it ain't too late. I don't think Dave Chappelle has committed some offenses. I'm mad offended. I think Dave Chappelle has a lot to answer for, but I don't think he's done anything so egregious that I would be like, He hasn't Kanye'd. He hasn't Obama did shit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fine.
So I say he can be redeemed, but I don't think he will. I don't think there's any incentive. You get $80 million by being a fake pro-black. Why be a real one?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any incentives. Diallo, it's funny how you use the story to speak against Meat, however, ignore the fact that he prayed to God.
Man, Diallo growing. He was showing a little restraint for me. I picked up on that and I was like, man, look at my boy.
The man said when he went into surgery, he prayed to God and said, God, if I come out of this surgery with my life, I will spread the message of veganism. I was just quoting what he said. I didn't say I agree with what he said or I think what he said was valid, fully valid. So I would think it would be insincere for me to be like, yeah, he just made a commitment to vegan. So I tell the truth, even if the truth is diverges from what my own belief. So I said it. I didn't ignore it. I acknowledged that's what he said. I'm the one who repeated it. So how did I ignore it?
See, that's what I'm saying. I think Buddy right here, why not learn is like just chuckling. Relax. Let's go to the next one.
Meat is murder. Don't eat animals. I agree, and I agree.
Right on.
All right. So Skip just acknowledged he's a murderer. I mean, acknowledging your problem, So
that's the thing. And you know how people be like, could you do that? Could you kill your own animal? I have. So,
You saying it like it's something you should be proud of, like you're proud of that, and let the world know what's happening.
No, I mean, I did it,
Okay, I would say that's definitely cause for rejecting somebody. Anybody that can be friendly or casually cool with an overt fascist and overt racist, I think that's invalid. Now, I ain't saying if you got me grinning and standing cheek to cheek with a racist, then I guarantee you that's a well-hidden racist, because I think any black person that's openly supportive or friends with a racist is, I don't set traps. Didn't nobody say she set traps. I was just giving an example to articulate my point. And no, I do not want a stack of 1,000 singles and to go to King of Diamonds. Again, I was trying to make a wider point.
Why are you scared of this person? Why are you scared of this?
I ain't nobody scared. Ain't nobody scared of nothing. Like you said, let's move on to the next one. Bottom line. Integration has happened. What is the solution to make it better or rework the system? Go ahead, you take this one, because you're integrated. I ain't.
Yeah. I think this is the best way to say it. The solution is going to be as complicated as the problem. So let's all work towards.
Oh, I hate to interrupt you. Just give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I gotta go lock the door.
All right. Yeah. So Stanley Cross, is not gonna work any differently because we don't have the power to make it work any differently, right? Like ultimately, those folk that some want to be close to for whatever reason, still hold those powers. So I think the way that we make it work better is to start working on building our own systems. Independent black institutions are the key. Haki Matabuti talks about that a good bit. So that's what we can do. Yeah, man, but do your thing.
All right. That's it. Those are the ones I starred. You can't even star anymore.
Nope, I can't star anymore. But I think, did nobody want to come on?
I shared it. I'll share it one more time. I mean, we're always so lovely to our guests. I don't know. But then some weeks we'll have like 15 people in the waiting room, and other times we can't even get to, that's how people are. The masses are inconsistent.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Boy. Here we go right here. Somebody said, this is a real question. OP. This is a real question. Umar School doesn't count for black people building institutions.
Where's that?
Uh
Oh,
it's just,
sorry.
yeah.
I wanted to get. I missed that one. Hold on.
That's crazy.
The answer is no.
Yeah. And if you want to come on and talk more about it, then yeah.
And here's the thing about institutions. Even if Umar opened the school and successfully operated the school, it could be defined as an institution, but I think he would be inaccurate in calling it a Pan-African institution, because when you look at the structure, when you look at the goals and objectives of the school, they pretty much align with most other private Christian or private conservative schools. Umar is a conservative. I say Umar is a militant integrationist. When you look at how he wants, where he talks about the family, where he talks about issues related to economics, issues related to gender, most of it align with and resonate with the dominant culture. So even if Umar successfully opened the school, children will walk out of the doors of that school fully prepared to be conservative, right-wing American citizens. So even if he did open the school, it would be called an institution. But when I said institutions, I thought it went without saying revolutionary Pan-African institutions, not conservative reactionary institutions. But
absolutely,
Umar School doesn't exist. So that's like, let's just debate whether or not the Hall of Justice is an institution. Let's debate whether or not Hogwarts is an institution. Until the school opens, that's really something we can discuss theoretically, but
that
not
boy
really
said the Hall of Justice and Hogwarts.
Okay. With a movement, with agreed upon ideology, I think Dave Chappelle will support.
All right. I don't have any relationship with Dave Chappelle. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him. I've only seen things on TV, so I don't know that man. So, yeah.
I disagree. I think Dave Chappelle, being a man worth $80 million, I think Dave Chappelle would represent and act to protect his class and economic interest over his racial interest. I think that's how he lives and that's how he behaves. I think he is very comfortable and very much willing to speak to the plight of Black people and use it as fodder for his act. But I don't think he's willing to make any substantial changes, because if you got $80 million and you talking about you're waiting for somebody else to do something when you have all the resources and all the public support to do it your goddamn self, I believe that's insincere.
Yeah. And again, I don't have no relationship with that man, so I can't say what.
I mean, shoot.
So
yeah. So
all I know is this: I don't know what. Yeah, and I think, and I'll say this: I think it's interesting, right? I think we give Black celebrity like entirely too much credit, and we give them entirely too much credit, and we place unreasonable and unrealistic expectations. Like, what makes Dave Chappelle anything? Like, why should we listen to Dave Chappelle? Like what the fuck does Dave Chappelle know? Like, so like whatever he want to do with his money is what he does. And if it's not in support of institutions that Black people are building, he may be supporting 50 orgs that we don't know anything about that are doing amazing work.
I hear that shit all the time. Michael Jackson and Prince did all this secret work.
You're not hearing what I'm saying. I'm saying he could be doing that. I don't have any if we talk about like evidence, I don't have any evidence to say that Dave Chappelle is going to support a thing in the same way I don't have any evidence to say that Dave Chappelle isn't going to support a thing.
But here's the thing.
Go ahead.
If you're secretly doing, if your secret work is good and your public work is bad, then you're a fucking bad person.
Hey, bro, I love your analogy of, you know, you gotta, why would you try to look for diamonds and shit when there's diamonds on the table?
Right.
Right. Like I think that's perfect. Right. Yeah. What I'm saying is I don't know what that man is doing. Right. That gets a period. I don't know what that man is doing. Period. Next sentence. I also don't care what that man is doing. Period. Because I don't have any evidence that tells me anything that he's doing is of any importance. Like he is not standing up and saying things that I think are supportive of things of positions that I hold. So like whatever. When he's funny, I laugh.
But here's the thing. We do know what he's doing. I mean, he went on tour with Joe Rogan. He went on tour with Joe Rogan and used Joe Rogan as his opening act, platforming and supporting someone like Joe Rogan, who is also a racial realist, white nationalist, racist. He brought Elon Musk on stage and he breaks bread with those people. He advocates for those people. He scapegoats and he parrots right-wing reactionary rhetoric about gay and transgender people and lies. He openly expressed his support and embrace of J.K. Rowling. He aligns ideologically and even socially with the white elite and capitalist. And I think it's tragic because he also goes to Ghana with Talib Kweli and Mos Def, and he shows up in black spaces and black pro-black or black progressive spaces. So he's able to navigate these both worlds, which to me makes him more of a degenerative presence than if he was strictly right-wing. But the fact that he demonstrates the ability to navigate between both worlds is problematic to me.
Okay.
So I think, and here's the thing about a celebrity where I don't think we should denounce celebrities because they are very powerful forces. A celebrity is not a person of immense talent. We know, we could all list on both hands people who have celebrity status who've never done anything that's of value. What makes a person a celebrity in any society at any stage in history is that they are aspirational to the masses and they are inservient to the institutions of the status quo. Mm-hmm. That's what makes you a celebrity. Tomorrow, some wealthy benefactor could break me off with certain cars or certain houses, and I could post on my social media myself in these exotic places. I can't rap, I can dance a little, but I don't do nothing in terms of arts that anybody. I like to draw, I like to do artistic things, but I got enough sense about myself to keep it to show my wife and kids and nobody else, because it ain't nothing that is worthy of public display, right? But I could become a celebrity tomorrow without taking any singing, dancing, or acting lessons because it's aspirational. So celebrities are a force.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't disagree with celebrity being a force. And if celebrity is platformed by our oppressor, if they are platformed by a class that we don't see eye to eye with, if they are tools of that, then what is their value to us? We know what the consequence of them existing is, but what is their value to us?
What's the opposite of value?
Huh?
What's the opposite of value? What's their detriment?
Okay, detriment is fine.
So I can say
we know what their detriment is, right? So what's their value?
Well, cautionary. They could be a cautionary tale.
Yeah, but they're not going to be a cautionary tale until they fall off. In the meantime, because if everyone is already just lauding their
I don't think
wealth,
somebody has to fall off to be a cautionary tale. But I guess we got somebody. Stanley's in the waiting room.
There goes Stanley. What's up, Stanley?
I think we already answered this, right?
Yeah, like read where do we go from here? Chaos or community, and
yeah. But I would like to get more into that. But let's give Stanley some
Jared book
time.
A live reinvention.
Right. So well, Stanley, what's up, bro? You live? Questions, comments, criticism?
Well, you know what? I'm a big fan of you both. But I guess my question is, there's a lot wrong with the Dave Chappelles of the world. It's easy to criticize, etc. They're, selling out here, selling out there. And this is an honest question. What exactly is going right in the Black community?
Oh, that's not like it.
Well, no. Are Black radicals building schools? What's going on beside? Well, no. I knew I was going to get a chuckle, but it's an honest question.
Yeah.
Where's the Black radical school to counter?
Right. So, as a person that is currently building a school, it takes a lot of money. And in saying that it takes a lot of money, poor people typically can't give it to you because poor. There are programs and platforms that people are doing all over the place, right? Like the school that we're building is a part of this network called Big Picture Learning. They have schools all over the country. That's actually why I was in Kansas City with Diallo. They have a school there. They have schools. We'll be the only one in Mississippi. There, I think, is one being built in Houston. A bunch in New York. IDEA, Institute for Democratic Education in America, is doing some really good work with like their free and alternative schools. So just speaking about schools, right, is something that I can talk a little bit about. There are a whole lot of schools that are happening from a whole lot of radical folks. There are also quite a few Black people that are starting to homeschool post-pandemic, where people are doing more traveling with their children. They're working remote. They're doing a lot of independent education work with their children. So all of those things are happening. What else is going right in the Black community? Just speaking very specifically, my neighbors call me repeatedly if anything looks suspicious in our neighborhood. One of my neighbors bought the vacant house that was next to me at an auction, and is moving his daughter into that space. My sons can play in my neighborhood. Like I think what we have to recognize is something that's very different in the way that we tend to look at things, right? When I say I don't know what Dave Chappelle is doing and isn't doing, Diallo
you shouldn't care.
Hold on, Diallo
you said it.
Yeah, Diallo ran off 40 things that Dave Chappelle did poorly. I'm not on Twitter, right? I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I don't know what Dave Chappelle does if you don't put out a special that's on Netflix, right?
But you kind of,
I don't follow celebrity in that way. It's not. You know what? To me, sir.
And I'm gonna say that is positive. You are concentrating on your kids. That is totally positive.
Right.
So, and I guess, I'm not yellow by nature, but, I guess I'm sitting here kind of wondering, a whole lot of doom and gloom. There's a lot going right. You may have to cherry pick what's going right and all that stuff, but I worry when we start, going off on what Dave Chappelle's doing, $80 million. Yeah, that's all good. But my kid is not Dave Chappelle's kid, and probably better off for it. What are we doing?
Yeah,
at a
but
grassroots level.
yeah.
And,
So
and
one of the
you
things,
you named some of it. So
yeah, but Stanley, this is the thing that I think is like incredibly interesting. One of the things that Diallo said, and maybe you missed it earlier, was he was like, regardless of the way that I come across, I'm very optimistic. And he talked about how the material condition of Black people is far better than any group that have been subjected to the
right.
things that we have been subjected to, right? Like he spoke about that in detail, and he said our biggest threat is the work that the right that capitalists are doing to the environment, right? Like the earth being threatened is our biggest threat because of the way that
Well,
we're coming
I
together.
don't disagree with that, but we
Yeah.
know what the problems are. Um,
Yeah,
but
we've done, but Stanley, I remember you from last time. We've done a few shows where we talk about, the solution is reading and organizing and
yes,
having conversation. And I can understand why that doesn't seem like the best solution, right? Because we got to
no,
do something.
it's not a bad it's not a bad solution. It's not a non-solution. What I'm saying is sometimes, and this is just me, and
Mhm.
I've watched your show before. I'm a BPM member, all that stuff. Sometimes we can kind of go too far into the negative, what they're doing that's wrong. Sometimes we have to concentrate on what we're doing right and talk about it. And
I'm
yes, you
curious,
do.
Stanley.
Sure.
I'm curious.
Uh-oh.
So your position is that Black people are doing right, but your lead
No,
question
my
was
position, my
your.
position.
Allow me,
Okay.
just to make the statement, and then you can respond. Your position, your first thing you came on here and says, so what are Black people doing right? But you
Hmm.
asked that question when you had already concluded that there are things that Black people are doing right that we're
Yeah, it
failing
was a
to acknowledge.
rhetorical question. Congratulations.
So why not? I'm just curious, and I don't know if it was a gotcha or whatever. Why
No, it
not
wasn't.
just why not simply first of all, um, why not simply come on and say, I want to share some things that Black people are doing right, and I have a list of radical schools. Because then you ask the question, well, are
I
the
don't
radical
have a list of
allow
radical schools.
Stanley, and then so that wasn't a rhetorical question. That was an essential indirect condemnation.
No,
So
no. The
because
last
it
thing
would
I want to
suggest
do is
if you
condemn Diallo.
if you're asking me what are
I'm
the
a
radical
fan.
schools, I appreciate that. If you're asking me what schools are the radicals building, while I think you've concluded that we aren't building schools,
Okay.
then that's a condemnation, right?
No,
That's not
it's a
even that
question.
was a
It's a
rhetorical.
question, and
Was that
it's a
rhetorical or
it's
was
a
that a
no.
sincere
It
question?
it was a question, a sincere question, and sounds like I got a sincere answer.
Well, I haven't answered yet.
You you said you said nothing.
I said it right. I didn't answer yet. I
Okay.
intend to answer you, but
I will patiently wait.
I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying to grasp because your first question, what are Black people doing right? Because I think
Yes,
Skip
that was
gave
my
you
question.
a sincere answer, but it was a rhetorical question. When you ask a rhetorical question, that means you already know things Black people are doing right,
True.
and you're just trying to measure whether or
And
not.
you
But
confirmed
you're
it.
just trying. You said you would patiently
Again,
wait. You
I'm
haven't
not
waited for
trying to
anything.
pick a I
Stanley,
am
I'm
not
going to
trying to
mute
pick a
you. I'm
fight.
going to mute you. I don't want to have to. Do I have to mute you, or are you going to allow me to
You go
pose
ahead and answer,
my
but
question? Okay. Here's my position. First of all, you posed a rhetorical question that you got a detailed answer to. So was it a truly rhetorical question? Was it a truly rhetorical question? If it was a rhetorical question and you were just trying to measure whether or not Skip and I acknowledge or are aware that Black people are doing some things right, and you already know that, I'd like you to share what Black people as a whole, as a community, are doing right. If
I
you're
think Black people, many of us are good parents, raising kids to be responsible adults, making them aware
what
of,
percentage? Many of us, what's the
you
percentage?
know what? I don't know the percentage. I can only do what
Is
I
it
do.
over 50%?
I don't know. You tell me.
So why do you
Was
think that at
that
all
was
then?
that a
What is that
rhetorical
thought
question?
based on? No, it's a deliberate question.
It is based on my personal experience, anecdotal.
So it's not based on anything then. It's not based on anything
I would
anyone
think
else.
my
It's
I
not
would think
based on
my
anything on
experience is not
anyone
nothing,
else.
Diala. I would think my
Why would I
experience
value
is
your
not
experience?
nothing.
Why would I give any weight to your personal experience?
You, I can't imagine why you would. But
Okay, so do you
I
have
could tell
anything
you my
beyond
experience.
anecdotal opinions, baseless
Nope,
opinions and feelings?
nope.
So you don't think Black people are doing well? So that wasn't a
No,
rhetorical
I
question
do
because you
think
are
Black people are
unaware.
doing well.
You are
Dude, you're picking a
unaware.
fight where there's none.
You're unaware of where Black people are doing well. But you said you asked a rhetorical question, which would suggest that you know that
Dude,
they
you're
are.
picking a fight, and I'm not bringing one. I asked a
I'm not
question, you
picking a
answered it.
fight. It's just the way you
Sounds like
came.
you are, Diala.
The way you came saying, well, what are
Dude,
Black
I'm
people
not
doing
your
well?
enemy. It was an honest question.
It was a rhetorical question. You can't
Yes.
rhetorical and honest are
Rhetorical
not the same
questions
thing.
can't be honest.
No,
Okay.
no. A
My bad
rhetorical
then.
question is a question where the answer is obvious. So a
Yes,
rhetorical
Black
question
people are
by
doing good
definition,
things.
who's unmuting this guy? What's wrong? A rhetorical question by definition. A rhetorical question by definition is an insincere question. It's a question where the answer is obvious. So if you're asking a person a rhetorical question, you obviously don't respect their ability to answer, or you're asking a question that is so obvious that it doesn't require a question. So a sincere question is one that you genuinely are curious and you genuinely want an answer to. So no, that's not an honest question.
You know what? I am so sorry you took my question the wrong way. Sometimes rhetorical questions can be reminders of concentrating on the
And
good
you
stuff.
obviously think that we need a reminder. You obviously are
I
under
I
the
actually
impression,
on this show,
based on
yes,
your supporting statements.
based on today's show, where Dave Chappelle is bad and all this stuff, I think you needed a gentle reminder, and my way of doing it was a rhetorical question.
Right.
Sorry
So
you
it
took it
wasn't an
the
honest
sorry you
question.
t- so, no,
I
it's an
didn't take
honest
it the
question.
wrong way. I accepted it and took it
No,
exactly as you
it
presented it.
was meant in the best spirit. You are taking it the wrong way.
I'm not taking
Stanley,
it the wrong way. Now
Stanley,
that's
thank you.
gaslighting.
Yes, Skip.
That's
Stan,
gaslighting.
Stanley,
Because you
thank
come
you
on
for
here.
coming on, bro.
Thank
Well,
you.
can I give
Diallo,
him the radical school first? And I
I,
expect you to go to this radical
I
school
will
and make a
retreat.
donation. No, don't
I'm
retreat.
getting beat down. I will
No, you're
retreat.
not. No, you're not. You're just being called, man. Just don't. Hey, listen. I like slick shit, and I like slick people. Some of my best friends are the
Dude,
slickest people
I
in the world.
didn't call here to be slick.
You being slick.
Oh,
So
dude.
let me answer your
Oh
question.
my
Let
God.
me give you a school that a radical has built, and I fully expect you to go
Okay,
on that.
I would love to hear it.
This is a school built by a radical Black man, an
Hmm.
independent school, Freedom Home Academy, based here in Chicago, putting out intellectuals and radicals. I would hope that you would go to this page, go to the donate page, and break the brother off something. And I
Yes,
don't
sir.
know if your school,
Drop the link and I will do it
it's
promptly.
Freedom Home Academy, and
Okay.
I don't
In
know if
Chicago.
that question. Yes, I can share more. So radicals are
Go
building
ahead.
schools.
Love to hear it. I'll
Radicals
mute.
are building. Oops, wait, sorry. Where are we? I'm sorry. How it's supposed to go? But yeah, man. No, listen. Like I said,
Stanley,
I got mad
Stanley,
respect for slick cats, but once you get caught out and don't try to
Stanley,
act like you're not being
I
slick.
wasn't trying to be slick.
Stanley. I
Yes,
think you
Skip.
asked the question. I thought the question came from a genuine place. You
It
answered the
did.
question, and
You
Diallo gonna
did.
beat on you for asking the question,
You know
because
what?
that's just where he
The
at.
bottom line is Diallo. I can beat on Diallo just as good. I'm just
Pause.
listening.
I'm I guess Stanley going. Listen, I ain't got no beef. Listen, I am a tree
Slick
hugging
cat.
man.
Recognize the slick cat.
I'm just saying, man. You being the way you came at it, but like
honestly, Skip. Thank you for
Skip is
recognizing
obligated.
Skip is not obligated.
Skip is obligated to turn the other cheek. Skip is
come
obligated
on.
to seek out peaceful resolutions. I
You
have
know
no
what?
such compunction or limitations.
But you know what, Diallo?
I am
That's
worldly
why
and of the world.
that is why I am more like you. That's why I came meek and mild, asking rhetorical questions, because I knew I was going to get a beat down.
Do you agree that a rhetorical question is not an honest question?
I do not agree with that.
Appreciate you for checking us out, Stanley. Like, you're a good guy, bro.
You too.
Take it easy.
But just don't come on here being. You got to be slicker than that.
You know what?
Stanley,
you know what?
Stanley,
I think I was slick enough.
Yeah. And Stanley, you can also give to loveblackgirls.org, the Lighthouse Black Girl Projects. Where
we're going to break the bank. I can just flood you with links. Everybody should be giving money.
You know what? I don't have a bank, but I think you answered my question. I see you pointed out some good stuff happening. Don't concentrate on Dave Chappelle. Concentrate on the good stuff. That's really my point.
But it was Dave Chappelle that provoked you to chime in.
That was the reason. Dave Chappelle has zero to do with my life. Dave Chappelle has zero.
You to call. Huh?
No. I didn't call because of Dave Chappelle. I called because of you, Diallo.
Well, you know,
I'm a fan, and I got to say hi.
Innovator. I'm a hater facilitator. Nobody's greater.
No, I enjoyed it. Y'all answered the question. Now we know there's good stuff. Let's try and concentrate on some of that sometime.
I absolutely wholeheartedly refuse. It's too many positivity gurus. Positivity is toxic.
I am not a positivity guru.
I'm a good.
All right, appreciate y'all, man. Right on. Let's hey man, y'all can argue with each other, you know.
This is how I
talk to y'all later. I'll drop out.
All right, appreciate you, Stanley.
I don't know how to rap, so this is the only way I can get into a lyrical battle skit. If I knew how to rap, maybe I wouldn't be arguing semantics. But he was being slick, and you let him off the hook. You don't come on nobody like, well, what are black people doing right?
Hey, and
are the radicals opening schools? Where are the radical schools?
Listen,
that wasn't said in sincerity.
How many people didn't know about some of these things that were happening, and now they know? Like, I just, whatever.
All right. Go ahead and close us out, brother. We'll close out on a bad note.
Hey, and when we get off of here, hit my line, bro. I need to ask you something.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for community. Thank you for time. Thank you for rhetorical questions. Thank you for the slick. Continue to show us opportunities that we have to grow and give us opportunities to be those things that you want to see in the world. Amen.
All right, bro. I'll holler at you offline.
All right, bro.
All right, peace.
All right, love you.
Thank you, everyone listening. We see y'all Wednesday after next. Peace.